Welcome everyone. I'm Dr. Saurabh Jindal. I'll be taking your dermatology. Now, after the regular batch, we have had some idea of dermatology. What is the idea of the session today? Let's be very clear and let's understand the perspective of what we are going to do in the next 1 hour or so. Now, our intention basically today is not going to learn new things. My attitude, my perspective is let's not learn many new things at this time. Let's solidify what we already know. Okay, we call it cementing together. Let's cement some loose crumbs here and there, and let's just kind of make it a very solidified unit. So today it's going to be a revision session. Today it's not going to be new chapter discussion, new concept discussion. No, we have done a lot of concepts, we have done a lot of discussion in the regular batch, and I hope all of you already pit pat with that, at least one revision through. Okay, now the time is for stuff to be put into each other. So this is the approach that we have today. All my best wishes to you for this session. It's going to be a quick session. It's going to be an intense session. I'm going to give you a lot of information, but it's going to be repackaging what we already know so that concepts become more clear, so that things become simplified for all of you. I don't want you to have this kind of a facial expression when you see images in dermatology in your exam. I know derma is a game of images. Today what we are going to do, I'm not going to be using theory. I'm not going to write stuff. I'm not going to say, okay, this leads to this, leads to this. No, we are not discussing pathogenesis. We are not discussing treatment. We are discussing diagnosis. So today the session is going to be what I call as diagnostic dermatology, not therapeutic dermatology. What does that mean? That means I will tell you how to identify diseases. Because 9 times out of 10 in your exams, all your central exams, INI exams, what do we expect? We expect an image to be given, we expect some theory to be given, and we expect them to ask you what is the diagnosis. Not too many treatment questions are asked. So don't worry in dermatology about treatment challenges, about dose of isotretinoin. No, it's not really a dose question. Okay, it's rarely a drug question. It's more a diagnosis question. Okay, this is some image given, identify. And this is the image, this is kind of the expression that I expect from non-Damsonians. Okay, not really from Damsonians. So let's hope this is not what you come out with from your questions in the exam. I like this fellow. I used to like him a lot. About a lot of things that he did made a lot of sense. We can use some of his principles here. He coined a term connecting the dots. If you read his book as well, what do you mean by connecting the dots? Connecting the dot means you have A, you have B, you have C. All of us go through life experiencing various things, and we get better at a few skills. For example, he got better at calligraphy, right? He attended a calligraphy course, and later on, guess what? All the fonts that are there in Microsoft Word have a derivative from that course that he did. Similarly, we go through life with so many different skill requirements, and we don't know whether those skills are going to be used up. But later, a lot of these things get put together, and then after many years, you understand, oh, how important was that? Similarly, in dermatology, when we did the regular batch, I told you, okay, psoriasis, eczema, tinea, and this and that. Now, what we are going to do today is putting everything together. Connecting those dots is the principle and the perspective of today's session. So I hope at the end of today's session, all of you will be able to find out a kind of a network, okay, of dermatology so that things don't look out of place. All right. We understand things in dermatology look almost the same, right? No, image A and image B look the same, right? For an untrained eye, that is. But you are now a trained eye, not an untrained eye, right? Obviously, we have to fill up a few gaps, which is what we're going to do today. So don't get very concerned. Sir, oh, this looks like this. Oh, tinea looks like the Herald patch of Pitrus rosea. No, we are going to be able to give you that perspective today. So all my best wishes. And as you know what I do, I always try to make things simple. Another favorite character of mine, maybe I can just try to make it look easy. Right? What it does obviously is not easy, but does it not make it look so easy? So let's hope that at the end of the session today, things become simple, right? What approach do I have today? Today we have a clinical vignette approach to dermatology. Okay, now you understand the entire DVD has been an integration session. Okay, integration session. So we are again here looking at vignettes. What do you mean by that? Now see, when I teach you in the regular batch, we will say, okay, let's discuss psoriasis and let's talk something about it. So I tell you after I start with the disease diagnosis, right? So we go to the diagnosis first and then we cover that topic. That's how I taught. Now let's reverse it. Let's now talk from a clinical sign and symptom perspective. So the first point of starting of this discussion is not a disease and a discussion perspective, but a clinical presentation perspective. Because that is how questions are asked in your exam, right? In the exam, you're not going to be told, okay, this is psoriasis, let's discuss. That is a paragraph writing. That is not how MCQs are. MCQs are, okay, this is the clinical scenario. This is how the images are. Tell us the diagnosis. The diagnosis is at the end of the question, not at the start of the question. So today again, we're going to do that. Today, we will really be able to look at clinical scenarios. That if this is a red thing, this is a blue thing, how do I go into perspective? We also are going to do what I call as side-by-side dermatology. What do you mean by side-by-side dermatology? We are going to put two images together, right? And then we will say, okay, they look same, but look at the differences. Oh, this is the difference, this is the difference, oh, this is then the diagnosis. So today we're going to have a side-by-side dermatology. We call it side-by-side dermatology. And we will look at, okay, hypopigmented patches, side-by-side dermatology. Red patches, side-by-side dermatology. So in one clinical perspective, we'll have everything. I'm going to give you a lot of arrow-based charts. Now, I have selected clinical vignettes which I believe are important for this year's exam. So before your exam, I would want you just to go to this, and then in one, maybe 15-20 minutes, you will be able to revise everything. Okay. And one more thing, don't worry about writing all this down. Okay. Obviously, all of you understand that these videos are going to be provided to you. Okay. So just focus. Do not write too many things on the chat box. Okay. Because I believe that really deviates you from the topic that we're discussing. You're going to be provided PDFs also. Don't worry about that as well. So just focus and listen and learn. That is going to be the scenario I want you to have. So the first clinical vignette I now need you to focus on is dark facial colors. Remember, all this theory you already know. I'm not telling you anything new theory wise, but I'm going to make just the things simple. Dark facial colors. Any question on dark facial colors? How do I go ahead? Okay. First, look at whether they are brown, blue, gray. That's one territory I wanted to look at. Brown, gray, and blue patches on the face. Okay. Now, this is a table I've made for you. Okay. I hope it's in a sufficiently big font, so then you can even look at it live and in here. Or if you can't see it, maybe later on when you get the PDF, okay, or the video recording, maybe you can pause and then see them at your own leisurely time. So look at color, site, whether it's congenital acquired diagnosis. Color is what? Brown. Malar area, okay, on the nose, female more than male, acquired disease, you know that's melasma. Got this? So that's, see how 4 phrases, brown, malar, nose, acquired melasma, finish, the diagnosis over. Focus on the red highlighted points. If it's brown, it's only mainly on the nose. Always a history of fever and joint pains, acquired chikungunya sign. So you might say, sir, I know all of this. I know that you know, but we are putting things together, and you will, at the end of it all, you'll have so many nice tables for you to, as a last pickup thing before you go to your exam, do this and you're not going to be able to make a mistake, right? Because you make mistakes in simple things, and that is why you lose a rank. If you make mistakes in exotic things, it's okay, because nobody has answered those exotic questions in the exams. Problem is, if you don't answer melasma and chikungunya sign, that is where your rank really dips, because other people would have answered it correctly, right? Another, if it's black now on the face, congenital, mark it as congenital melanocytic nevus. Something black, okay, on the face since birth, congenital melanocytic nevus. If it's blue, again, just focus on the red highlighted points. Blue, malar area, unilateral with the blue sclera there, you already know it's nevus of Ota, right? So facial colors, brown, black, and blue, right? And the accompanying features, you don't have to read the entire question. Just these 4 points are enough. Is that not how we simplify things? And into diagnosis, you can never make an error on that. If it's blue-gray, full face. See this, not unilateral, full face, and it's acquired not since birth. It's lichen planus pigmentosus. It's a sun-induced disease, right? You know that. I'm not discussing theory, I'm repeating that. Theory discussion has already happened in the regular batch. We are not here to discuss the pathogenesis of lichen planus pigmentosus. I'm here to tell you how to diagnose it in a quick way in the exam. Red, brown, blue, gray. Any color. Red, brown, blue, gray. On the lip, history of drug intake. If the drug intake history is not given, at least a history of diarrhea, history of toothache, history of fever. That means a drug has been taken. You have to interpret that. In an acquired disease, fixed drug eruption. Lip is a very, very important point. Don't miss the lip. Lip is a very specific site on the face where you will mark it as fixed drug eruption. Let's look at the side-by-side dermatology comparison. Look at these two images. Left side, right side. Left side image. Can you see these brown patches on the cheek and the nose? Can you see the color? It's brown, right? So if it's brown, cheek, nose, photosensitive, localized patches, melasma. I have deliberately made it a point to label all these images also, so there is no issue in you writing down all of this. I'm giving you all of this in the note format itself. Now, can you see the right side image? Can you see it's more diffuse, not localized on the cheeks? And look at the color if you can appreciate. It's more darker, it's more bluer, it's more grayer, and over the full face. This is lichen planus pigmentosus. Again, a photosensitive. So can you see it's quite similar images? Sita Gita kind of images, right? So very difficult to otherwise diagnose if you can't really pick up those small points, diffuse versus brown, diffuse versus localized, brown versus blue-gray. That's how you pick it up. Look at this nose, look at the arrow, the yellow arrow, right? This is brown on the nose, yellow arrow depicts that area, or sometimes even on the full face, but very importantly, not photosensitive. Got this? Not photosensitive. It is not going to be mentioned like that. History of fever, joint pains, always mentioned. Otherwise, you cannot, even I can't diagnose chikungunya sign on this till the time fever, joint pains are mentioned and melasma like brown pigmentation mentioned without photosensitive. Okay, so don't mistake that. Look at this. I told you, remember the black thing? Black on the face. Okay, look at the left side. Black face, congenital, sometimes even acquired. You know, melanocytic nevi can be acquired as well or congenital. If it's congenital since birth, congenital melanocytic nevus, acquired melanocytic nevus. And on the right side, similar black. This is what is a mole, but this is hairy. You can have hairy or a non-hairy nevi. This is melanocytic nevus. It has to be usually on the blacker side. This is how you pick it up. Okay, can you see this? Okay. Now look at these side-by-side images, same site. Look at the left side image. Can you see something brown? Okay, something on the cheek. So if it's brown, it's a superficial epidermal pigmentation. That's going to be brown face, photosensitive. We already know that's melasma. No history of fever, joint pain mentioned. All right. But look at the right side. Can you see right side? Same, but blue. Quite a deep dermal color. Blue on the face since birth. Melasma is not since birth. This is since birth. This is nevus of Ota. Nevus of Ota. Very important topic. So we always have a blue sclera mentioned also, but can you see there is no image of blue sclera on the right side? So it's okay. At least you know it's blue versus brown. So similar looking images, but quite different diagnosis for them, right? Now, if you have a lip, okay, can you see on the left side, it's going to be pigmented red-brown. This is fixed drug eruption. Now, every fixed drug eruption is red or brown to begin with. But later on, look at the right side. This has become a bit darker. This is now blue or gray. So, but lip is a consistent site on this. So if it's blue or red, it's still fixed drug eruption, but lip is a good site to identify the disease process. Some fever mentioned, some joint pains mentioned, but importantly, drug also mentioned, or maybe a diarrhea mentioned, something. But at least lip is what you pick up the entire disease from. So early fixed drug eruption and a late fixed drug eruption. Alright, I hope you are able to follow the pattern and now you get a perspective of what we're going to do today. I'm not going to be writing pathogenesis too much. Okay. See, every subject is different. Okay. And we need to be high yielding in our discussions, right? So for example, when you have other faculties, many of them obviously and rightly so believe that discussion is important of each disease and then you go ahead. That's how integrated medicine is and that's how things are so beautifully being done. From a dermatologist standpoint, we are looking at a wide spectrum of diseases, like a basket of diseases. So many diseases I'm covering together and trying to put them together into one basket, right? Vignette 2, red facial color. We did brown, now we do red facial colors, okay? Now again, decide by the same way, color, site, congenital acquired diagnosis. Red, obviously that's what we are here on. Malar area in the nose, female more than male. So these are the same sentences for melasma. Again, photosensitive, again, melasma specific kind of a thing, but intermittent redness, coming and going, coming and going, coming and going. It increases with triggers like sun, alcohol, hot spicy food, and exercise. Acquired disease, all of you know already, that's rosacea. So simple, so simple. You might say, "Arey, sir, ye to aata hai." I understand, you know. But do you know, there's so many instances of students coming back and saying, "Sir, I've read rosacea 100 times. But how could I make an error in the exam?" Because in the exam, you have stress and you are hurrying up to the next question. So whatever little help you get at that time, because it's a moment of a microsecond. Your mind's so SLE. You'll go to SLE and make a wrong error on this. So look at these pointer specific focus words. And once you know the focus words, you have your answer straight up. Okay, let's look at again the red highlighted point. If it's red but mainly on the eyelids, okay, face, neck, foot. Photosensitive, again acquired, this is dermatomyositis. So if it's around the eyes, not around the cheeks, it's going to be basically dermatomyositis. Okay. Okay. Look at also the upper one, okay, which has not been highlighted. It's a bit darker. Red, malar, nose, face, more female more than male, but it's going to be persistent erythema. Persistent erythema on the same cheeks. Spares the nasolabial fold. Not on the eyelid, so it's going to be mainly on the cheeks, right? So if it's cheek redness in persistent erythema, then it's SLE. Eyelid redness, persistent erythema, that's going to be dermatomyositis. Here both are autoimmune diseases. If it's red, small elevated, see this, it's not flat now. Small elevated red papules in an old patient. Acquired disease, cherry angioma, which I'll show you images also. If it's red elevated but congenital, it's infantile hemangioma. You got this? So red elevated, old patient, it's going to be cherry. Red elevated, congenital, infantile hemangioma. Red flat, congenital, Port Weinstein. How easy it is now to identify. I'll show you side by side images also for you to pick up one by one how you diagnose all the red facial colors. Okay, look at this now. Can you see both the images are of the same patient? Okay, similar looking patient. Okay, red on the cheeks, photosensitive, intermittent erythema. So intermittent erythema is rosacea. The question will say that, or some emotional upset triggering it, some alcohol triggering it, some anger, anxiety triggering it, and that's usually a rosacea sign. Some telangiectasia is also there. On the right side, similar looking image, sparing the nasolabial folds, persistent erythema of SLE. Can you see the eyelids are not the focus area here, it's more the cheek and the nose. So similar looking images, very similar, but you look at the stem of the question, you look at the theory of the question. Theory pata lag gayi, so then you can correlate the image and then you know where the answer would come from. Look at this image. Can you see it's also extending to the eyes, eyelids, along with the cheeks, a bit on the neck also. Okay, so red, periorbital more than the cheek, photosensitive again, dermatomyositis. Okay, if it's cheek more than periorbital, it's SLE. And this shoulder redness is what we call as a shawl sign of dermatomyositis. In dermatomyositis, there is going to be obviously a proximal muscle inflammation along with skin features. Those skin features are going to be erythema or sometimes even purple. So see the two colors. Can you see left side it looks more redder, right side it looks more purplish. Okay, so it is red or purple areas. We also call it lilac color. So SL is only red, rosacea is only red. This is red plus a bit of purple tinge coming up, and that's how dermatomyositis could be diagnosed. These are very important images. I've had so many questions in exams which students have come back to us and said, okay, oh, that image was there. So can you see it takes a microsecond to make an error on this? That okay, cheek, what if you answer as dermatomyositis? And the eyelid, what if you answered as SLE? It does not take too much time to make that error. But if you revise this before your exam, just before your exam, you know, oh, this is how it's going to be addressed, and that's how you will answer this question. Now look at this red flat areas. Red flat areas typically unilateral congenital since birth. Okay, it persists throughout life. It's going to be port wine stain. Port wine stain is basically a vascular issue of obviously a lot of these blood vessel dilatations on one side of the cheeks permanent. Usually we would do a laser, like something called as a pulse dye laser, for this to be handled, and you can have intraocular complications, CNS complications, okay, of that side, and that's port wine stain to be looked at. Okay, now look at this red elevated areas. Look at the right image first. Can you see it looks like an old person? The black arrows are pointing to some red papular elevations. In old age, you might actually have seen that, you know, in your parents, if they're very old, or your grandparents, many of them have this center, small elevations, asymptomatic. That's called cherry angioma. It looks like a cherry. Angioma is a blood vessel mass, but blood vessel tumor. Look at the left side image of a small child who has this red elevated area on the cheek. Yeah, that is since birth. So that is called infantile hemangioma. So red papular nodule since birth is infantile hemangioma. The same stuff in an elderly person which is acquired is going to be cherry angioma. Can you see the difference? Both images again look quite similar. The difference is the age of this image. One is a child, one is an old person. You got this? Hypopigmented face lesions, vignette 3. Again, my perspective for you is going to be hypopigmented areas. Now, hypopigmented facial lesions. Hypopigmented facial lesions are so important because so many MCQs have come from there. So we did dark facial lesions, we did red facial lesions. Now we are doing hypopigmented facial lesions. Okay. Now, how to diagnose MCQs on hypopigmented patch on the face? Okay. How do you go ahead? Now just look at this. If it's single lesion, sensations are normal, sweating is normal, mild, no scaling, some atrophy, okay, and some endemic area mentioned, which is Bihar, UP. It's going to be indeterminate Hansen. Indeterminate Hansen. Okay, clear cut disease diagnosis. If it's single or few, again sensation normal, sweating normal, but some fine scaling is mentioned. There is some atopy mentioned. Atopy क्या होता है? Recurrent cough and cold, sinus issues, asthmatic issues, something of that sort. Okay. Obviously, this is Pitrus alba. We have done that in the theory in the regular batch as well. है ना? So usually Pitrus alba is recurrent. Again, you might have a history saying कि बार-बार हो रहा है ना? Recurrent lesions alba. Indeterminate Hansen is not बार-बार, right? It's going to be obviously the single episode disease, and there are multiple small lesions. Let's assume. Okay, multiple small, typically with scaling, typically around the hair follicle, and on scratching you will find some powdery scales. Pitrus versicolor. Okay, can you see how easy it becomes? Just 3 diseases having hypopigment on the face: indeterminate Hansen, alba, and versicolor. Got this clear? Clear? Look at this side by side dermatology. Indeterminate Hansen on the left side, single lesion, normal sensation, normal sweating, some atrophy. See, atrophy means what? Thinning. That you can't see obviously from the image. But question will say atrophy here. The child is from Bihar. Okay, alba. Indeterminate Hansen. Pitrus alba, multiple. Can you see multiple images? Multiple hypopigmentation, faint hypopigmentation, but a bit of scaling. And scaling might again not be visible actually. So you might actually have to depend on the history of asthma in the family or asthma in the patient, recurrent cough and cold, sinus issues, dust allergies. Some kind of atopy in the child or in the family member. That's how you pick up the alba disease, and a recurrent disease also I said. See versicolor. Can you see versicolor is multiple small hypopigmented lesions? Okay, and this hypopigmented lesion is typically going to be with scaling, usually prominent only on scratching. Okay, now hypopigmented truncal lesions. Now when you have hypopigmented truncal lesions, face we have done, now trunk, go to the trunk. Usually only 3 diseases are possible. If it's perifollicular, again same features. Very fine scaling, Woods line positivity, scratch and positive, versicolor. So whatever on the face, multiple small perifollicular, if it happens on the chest and the back, it's versicolor. Okay. If it's Hansen, it's going to have a sensory loss. Indeterminate Hansen does not have a sensory loss. This has a sensory loss. Thickened nerves, no scaling. Hansen is always non-scaling. All right. thicker nerves, okay? And this is going to be endemic areas, okay? Thicker nerve is a very important point, okay? Atrophy again. And if it's going to be no sensory loss, exactly looking like Hansen, no sensory loss, no atrophy, history of past fever which is prolonged, which suggests visceral leishmaniasis, okay? And that visceral leishmaniasis typically will have some kind of hyperpigmentation also. And this is the disease called as PKDL. PKDL, important disease process of PKDL here. Okay, important disease process of PKDL coming here. Now look at this. So look at the images. This is pityriasis versicolor. Can you see multiple small hypopigmented macules? So like whatever you saw on the face, similar is there on the back and the chest. Again, you might have seen the same image before as well. Okay. Now it does not matter. Because again, as I said, the perspective for this session is revision and recall. It is not knowing new things. New things don't help. Okay, recall and revise is the perspective for today. Perifollicular hypopigmentation, normal sensation, normal sweat is typically pityriasis versicolor. Okay, you got this, small lesions. Side by side dermatology again, very similar images. BL, Hansen and PKDL. Almost same hypopigmented, almost symmetrical patches on both sides of the midline. But in Hansen, you will have sensory loss, endemic areas mentioned, thicker nerve. In PKDL, no sensory loss. Same endemic areas as Hansen's. No difference in the endemic areas, but what is mentioned is going to be the past fever, as I said. Okay, so same, almost the same image, BL and PKDL. कोई फर्क थोड़ी ना है ना? अब जब फर्क ही नहीं कैसे करोगे? Okay, the leading question, leading symptom, fever with hyperpigmentation. You'll say, okay, chal, this becomes a PKDL and not really a BL. Hansen, right? So this is how we understand the importance of theory in the stem of the question. That's how you look at how the images can be identified, even though they might really look very, very similar. Okay, right? So I hope you're getting the hang of how we are going to do dermatology with all of this. Okay, and I would want your full attention. Again, my request, don't really worry about the chat box. Okay, I can understand that there are a lot of things which go around. I can understand all of that, but most good students, the most good students, what they're going to do is say, okay, forget what's there in the chat box. Let me put it in the landscape mode. Let me just focus on what's being told. Let me focus on every word. And I remember me focusing on the importance of concentration. And I really believe all your chat boxes become distractions, which is really taking you away from your goal, taking you away from the rank that you desire and aspire for and you wish for. And with this, what all of us, obviously, you've had DVT for so many days, and obviously I can understand the fatigue which crops in. But as I said, remember that whatever I said in the regular batch, fatigue is just a fiction of the mind. Fatigue is if you allow your mind to take over you. But when you tell your mind, okay, shut up, you're not tired, you're not going to be tired. And you can see those, players, those tennis players fighting on for 5 hours on the court. You think they should be tired or we should be tired, right? You can understand that? Right. I can understand your fatigue, but let's get over it. Okay. Vignette 5, dark truncal lesions. Dark truncal lesions. All right. Okay. So we did hyperpigmented truncal, now dark truncal. Now dark truncal may, if you have shoulders, see shoulder areas, similar shoulder areas. Okay. Unilateral brown patch on one shoulder in an adolescent person. Okay. With more hair and more acne into that spot. That's Becker's knee. That's Becker's knee. And on the right side, same thing, but a bit bluer in color. No hair, no acne into that. Nevus of Ito, not nevus of Ota. I've had a lot of students making an error. Okay, on nevus of Ito and nevus of Ota. Ota is on the face. Ito is on the shoulder area. Okay, and Ito is since birth. Becker's is obviously a bit acquired. Right now, same thing if it's brown. Look at this now. If it's brown, big patches. Can you see this left side image? Brown big patches, it's going to be urticaria pigmentosa in a child. It's a form of mastocytosis. And the same thing, okay, but very, very small perifollicular with scaling wood slime positive. That is the brown variant of pityriasis. Can you see the difference again? Brown variant of pityriasis versicolor and urticaria pigmentosa side by side, very similar looking images. Okay, and I'm harping on that every time because I know that's so important. It's okay to feel कि हमको आता है ना? It's good to have that feeling. बट आने से मिस्टेक फिर भी होती है एग्जाम में. क्यों? क्योंकि शार्प नहीं है वो अंडरस्टैंडिंग, क्योंकि क्लियर एंड सिंप्लीफाइड नहीं है. ये साइड बाय साइड से आई बिलीव बहुत सिंप्लीफिकेशन हो रही है, राइट? एंड जस्ट लास्ट day before the exam, 15-minute revision, and you get so many easy clues on that. Vignette 6. This year I expect this group of diseases to be important. Papillosquamous eruptions. What do you mean by papillosquamous? Papillo मतलब papule, squamous मतलब scale. तो जो disease में भी papule and scale हो सकता है, papule and scale, that's called papillosquamous. Okay. The mnemonic to identify that is red slips. R is Rieter's disease, now obviously called as reactive arthritis. E is eczema. D is dermatophytosis, which is basically tinea. Okay. S is secondary syphilis. L is lichen planus. Lichen planus. P is psoriasis and pityriasis rosea. S is seborrheic dermatitis. So we have had questions in MCQs where it says all the following are papillosquamous eruptions except. Right. So ये आपका mnemonic हो गया, red slips. And then from this you know which one is to be excluded. I will give you that arrow based chart now for papillosquamous and how you pick up all the diseases just by a few pick up pointer words. Okay, papillosquamous, okay, eruptions. We have done all this in the regular batch but individually. Now let's put that into one slide so that in one snap you know how to go ahead. If it's flexure or extensor and itchy, flexure or extensor but itchy, but mention of oozing, lichenification and some atopy. Atopic eczema, no problem there, right? If it's annular, goal, itching, then it's either pityriasis rosea or tinea. How to differentiate between pityriasis rosea and tinea, that I will show you. Okay? If it's flexural only, itchy, but no scale mentioned, then it's going to be lichen planus. Typically purple, you know that papular eruptions on the wrist flexure is a very common site for that, but no scaling, right? If it's psoriasis like lesions, okay, don't jump to psoriasis. If it's silvery scale mentioned, but just don't jump to psoriasis, because if along with psoriasis like lesion there is some thick plantar scaling mentioned, plantar में foot पे बहुत thickened sole है, some circinate balanited mentioned or image given, okay, some plantar keratin, some urethritis given, some urethral discharge, some STD exposure, then it's Rieter's disease, not psoriasis. Okay. If it's seborrheic area mentioned, the scalp, the sides of the nose, the eyebrows, the back of the ears, the center of the chest, when this is mentioned, you will call it a seborrheic dermatitis. इसमें issue ही नहीं है अभी. And usually it's yellow, greasy. Can you get this? Yellow, greasy scales. Red, silver is psoriasis. This is seborrheic dermatitis. No itching. And acral scaling and papules. Can you see this? No itching. Very important. Acral scaling. Young male mentioned. Young female mentioned. So that means when they say young adult or young female, then that means they're looking at some possible sexual exposures. And asymptomatic lesions on the acral surface is secondary syphilis. If it's extensor and itchy with red scaling, psoriasis like typical lesion psoriasis. Can you see so many arrows and everything gets covered? How many diseases? What? 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 diseases getting covered just with one chart. And this is really how, don't look at the periphery. Okay. See, whenever you need to make a diagnosis, just look at the core crux, okay, of the question. क्या mention है? बाकी जो है garbage होता है MCQ में. Unnecessary information. So you have to separate them and focus only on these words. Okay. Now look at this image. Can you see your flexure mentioned? Back of the knee, elbow with oozing. Atopic eczema. Atopic eczema. Okay. Same flexure of the wrist. Okay. Left side. Okay. Flexure non-scaly, remember. Purple papules on the wrist. Lichen planus. Right side. Can you see scaling? This is on the knee. Extensor of the knee. Okay. The scaly psoriasis. So can you see images are easy to differentiate just by scaling? LP no scaling, psoriasis scaling, psoriasis on the extensor, LP on the flexure. Simple. Clear? Okay. Now, can you see this is on the plantar aspect? Okay, look at this. Thick keratotic plaques on the sole but with pus discharge from the feet. Also pus discharge from the urethra. Some joint pains mentioned like the knee. which is painful, or the ankle which is painful, Rita's disease or reactive arthritis, better called as reactive arthritis. On the other side, again some scaly lesions, almost looking like silvery scales. You are tempted to answer that as psoriasis or as reactive arthritis, but there is going to be acral involvement usually, no itching very importantly, no pus mentioned, some young adult mentioned, some condyloma lata mentioned on the perianal area, some mucus patches mentioned in the mouth, all that as secondary syphilis. Got this? Quite similar looking images. Got this? Okay. Yellow greasy scales on the scalp or on the sides of the nose, right? With a bit of scaling on the inner eyebrows as well. All the blue arrows are showing that. This is what? The simple seborrheic dermatitis. Cradle cap is also something which is called in an infant. This is seborrheic dermatitis. Again, the focus is not for you to look at treatment. Not too many treatment questions are going to be asked. Okay, though obviously you can have some odd questions of treatment, but you'll be well served efficiency wise when you focus on diagnosis. Vignette 7, a very important vignette. Some students asked me to create this alopecia vignette. So alopecia is such a common thing. So this is the arrow based chart that I created for you. All right. Now, any alopecia, first look at whether there are in the question signs of inflammation. आपको कैसे पता लगा साइन ऑफ इन्फ्लेमेशन है? Look at that. Redness दिख रहा है, कुछ pus दिख रहा है, pain, swelling, edema. This is obviously going to be inflammatory alopecia. Inflammatory alopecia typically will lead to scarring. That's scarring alopecia. No sign of inflammation, then you say, okay, non-scarring alopecia. Okay. Now, scarring alopecia is always patchy, whereas the non-scarring can be either patchy or generalized. So let's look at one by one. Okay. So let's focus on the patchy localized variety of the scarring alopecia. Look at the differential. You only look at three differentials for a patchy localized scarring. One is lichen planopilaris, one is DLE SLE, one is tinea cubitis. Tinea bas. Okay, there is nothing, no fourth in this. Simple ho gaya. We have narrowed it down into three categories. Tinea cubitis kaun sa? Carry-on phase. Alright, DLE SLE or LP pilaris. कैसे डिफरेंस इनके बीच में कैसे डिफरेंस है देखो. Look at these images. Now can you make out this is both of them are lichen planopilaris. Let me read up what is written so that you can focus. Patchy scarring. Can you see the patchy scarring? This is called as footprint in snow appearance. Okay, we have discussed that in the regular class. Scarring alopecia are the red areas, and the yellow are the intervening normal hairs. So this is why it's called patchy. All right. And on the right side, you can see blue macules, perifollicular blue arrows, perifollicular blue areas. This is basically lichen planopilaris. Okay. So at the cost of repetition, what I need you to understand is many of these images you might have already had with you. Okay. Maybe from some other previous sources or some kind of images. But again, this is about putting it together, putting it in a way which at the last moment gives you a lead up, gives you a head up. Okay, in all the confusion, all the stress of the exam, कि क्या होगा life में, हो पाएगा कि नहीं हो पाएगा. This is what you need at the end. Okay, all right. Now this is DLE. DLE is a discoid lesion. You can see by the yellow arrow, you can see a margin which is hyperpigmented, and this is scaling. Also inflammatory. The hair has gone forever. With the blue arrow, you can see thick scaling as well. With inflammation, this is DLE. Discoid erythematous plaques with thick scales, okay, which is the blue arrow, and a rim of hyperpigmentation, which is the yellow arrow mentioned here, and that is how DLE can be diagnosed with a positive carpet tax sign. All of you know that. Now carry-on the left side. Carry-on is typically an inflammatory boggy. Boggy is how you pick up the disease. Boggy inflammatory mass, scarring alopecia. Right side favors yellow scutellum, yellow crust-like scutellum. And that's again a scarring alopecia disease. Favus. Okay. So carry on versus favus. You understand that. Now, the next part of the alopecia is patchy localized, but the non-scarring types. We are talking about the non-scarring type here. 4 diseases for you to know. Patchy, non-scarring. Alopecia areata, secondary syphilis, trichotillomania, and again tinea cubitis. Which is which one? Gray patch black dot. Okay. So 4 यहाँ पे हो गया. Alopecia areata, syphilis, trichotillomania and tinea cubitis. कैसे differentiate करोगे? This is trichotillomania. Always look for what we call as incomplete hair loss. Okay, hair loss complete नहीं है. If it's a complete hair loss in that patch, it's alopecia areata. incomplete hair loss is going to be typically trichotillomania. Remember that. This is because these females usually will pull very inconsistently. Sometimes they pull more, sometimes they pull less. That's trichotillomania. Okay, and it's going to be usually towards the dominant hand side. Okay, that is where they would want to pull. So this is going to be a lot of incomplete hair loss, hairs of varying length. Okay, and this is going to have a bit of hemorrhage on histopathology, not clinically. Clinically bleeding point नहीं दिखते, पर जब biopsy करोगे तो bleeding point दिखेंगे on biopsy, some RBCs inside the follicle. All right. Now look at this. Can you see it's a complete hair loss depicted by the blue arrow, and some white hairs which are spared on the left side, and this is going to be alopecia areata. So typically alopecia areata, left side image is going to be complete hair loss, sparing of the white patch, white hairs inside the patch. Look at the yellow arrow. Can you see a scaling area? So when there is scaling and there is no sign of inflammation, inflammation तो नहीं है ना? So redness नहीं है, edema नहीं है. This is not an inflammatory. This is gray patch tinea cupitis. Typically the pointer word is going to be easy pluckability. Okay, easy pluckability, and very importantly in a child. Do not answer tinea cupitis for adults. Answer it only for children. Okay, look at this just for comparison. Footprint in snow with the yellow arrow, multiple patches with a bit of wrinkling of the skin if you can appreciate. Okay, and on the right side it's going to be again multiple patches but smooth skin. Again, that's one more way. Smooth skin wala kya hai? Alopecia areata. And wrinkled skin wala hai? Lichen planopilaris. So similar looking images. Okay, so no wrinkling. See, wrinkling is only a sign of inflammation. Alopecia areata is a non-scarring alopecia, so there's no wrinkling obviously there. So again, side by side, quite similar looking images on this. Okay. Again, can you see yellow arrow, scarred areas? Okay. And can you see prominent follicular elevations? I don't know if you can appreciate that in this. Maybe in the PDF you can zoom in and see as well. So that small elevations around the follicle, we call it follicular prominence, is again a sign of lichen planus. Okay, of the scalp. Look at the right side as a comparison. Okay, now can you see on the right side there is sparing of the anterior hairline? The hairline looks to be normal. So that is a very important clue to pick up in female androgenetic alopecia. Just for comparison images I'm saying. And there is no follicular prominence. Okay, so anterior hairline is normal. Okay, the increase of the central parting in the female. Some PCOD mentioned, some hormonal disturbance mentioned, all that can be mentioned. That's female androgenetic alopecia. Now, in the alopecia, the last one is generalized non-scarring. Okay, generalized non-scarring. What are the differentials? AGA, androgenetic alopecia. Alopecia totalis universalis. Telogen effluvium, anagen effluvium, and SLE. Okay, remember SLE can cause scarring and non-scarring both. So AGA, alopecia totalis universalis, telogen effluvium, anagen effluvium, and SLE. Now this male AGA versus female AGA is simple to identify. In female AGA, the anterior hairline is preserved. In a male, anterior hairline is gone. Both of them, the vertex is lost and the hair becomes thin. Remember, there's no hairs of varying lengths. Length is the same. The thinning, the diameter is affected. In trichotillomania, the diameter is not the problem. The length is the problem. Some are long, some are short. Here, it's not the length. It's the diameter. It's thinning. Now, you might say, sir, I can't appreciate diameter issues on an image. I understand that. But the question will be worded like in a way that you know that this is not trichotillomania. For example, if the question says recession of the anterior hairline in a male, okay, and thinning of the scalp hair, something of that sort, that's going to be AGA, androgenetic. Okay, in a female versus a male. The totalis universalis, simple images to identify. Complete loss of the scalp hairs. Okay, is totalis, complete loss of the body hairs is universalis. Obviously, no issue with identifying this. This is complete loss of hairs. Remember, alopecia areata or anyway complete loss of hair. These are variants of areata, right? Okay. Next vignette is STD ulcers. The STD is again something, at the last moment you need to understand which ulcer am I going to. So I'm going to put that in a chart based approach as well. Any ulcer, you first look at whether it's painless or painful. Let's assume it says painless. Then the next step is go to lymph nodes, inguinal lymph nodes. If the inguinal lymph nodes are painless, Answer is syphilis. If the inguinal lymph nodes are painful, it's LGV. And if the lymph nodes are not affected at all, it's donovanosis. So painless ulcers, 3 possibilities. Syphilis, LGV, donovanosis. Syphilis, painless ulcer, painless lymph node. LGV, painless ulcer, painful lymph node. And painless ulcer and no lymph node is donovanosis. Okay, see this side by side. Primary triangular donovanosis. Similar looking ulcers. See this. Left side, left arrow, the yellow arrow. Single ulcer, painless. Hard on palpation. Dirty slough on floor. This is, and there is a sign called as Dory-Flop sign. What is Dory-Flop? Dory-Flop means if you kind of flip that ulcer, there's a sound which it makes. If you hold it with 2 fingers and you flip it, if you like flipping a coin, there's a sound because it's a hard ulcer. So it flips with a sound. Okay, this is called Dory-Flop sign. Alright, now look at the right side, donovanosis, yellow, blue arrow. This is not painful, but not hard also. And it's very vascular. Can you see it looks quite red? And that redness is for donovanosis. And you can see there is a lot of dirty slough on the floor in syphilis. So that's the difference between them. Okay, syphilis ulcer, I got this from one of the memes which was there. Now this is syphilis ulcer, bahut hard, right? This is basically hardness defines. Okay, hardness defines syphilis. Syphilis is hard. That's how we look at it. Okay, your preparation is hard, I know, right? It's a hard time, right? But you win over that. You wrap it out. You win over the time, right? Courage is something that is really going to help you. Okay, in this time, it's not an easy time. I understand, right? And understanding what, because we have gone through this time as well. I understand. I had a hard time going through this, and I hardly want to remember that time also, right? But you learn how to manage. Nobody can win over hard times. You just have to pass through them, and in the process you become stronger, right? And that's how you generally look at it. Okay. Now there's a saying that what does not kill you makes you stronger, right? So all of us have come out strong, and that's why we can give you that strength. And it's really wish that you also come on our side and really then have good things to say about these hard times, right? Okay, secondary syphilis images. We know this. Okay, I discussed that earlier in the papillary squamous, but the image I'm showing you here, some hyperpigmented macules on the palms. Okay, some scaling also there, acral eruptions, but very importantly also what is the great imitator. क्योंकि ये मिमिक करता है ना डिजीजेस को, दूसरे डिजीज को मिमिक कर रहा है, बट कैसे आप पिकअप करोगे? Acral involvement. And some condyloma lata mentioned, some secondary syphilis features mentioned, some STD mentioned, some ulcer mentioned, something like that. कुछ ना कुछ होता है. There's going to be a deep dermal tendinous positivity as well, the great imitator disease, right? LGV bubo, all of you know as well, a lymph node which is swollen in the groin, okay, with a painless ulcer, with a groove of inguinal ligament positive, alright? Now, if the question of STD says painful ulcers, वापस फिर lymph nodes के पास देखेंगे. Now, if the lymph nodes are painful the first time and painless in the later episodes, then it's herpes. Herpes is always a recurrent disease. In herpes, the first episode of lymph node is always painful, recurrence is always painless. This is going to be genital ulcers. And most herpes genitalis ulcers are preceded by blisters. If it's painful ulcer and painful lymph node, only one differential, which is chancroid. सिर्फ एक ही है, chancroid. ठीक है? See, chancroid is painful ulcer, painful lymph node. Okay? Again, I'm showing you the same image which I showed you in the regular batch. The same image I show you in the class as well. Again, don't be afraid of repetition. Sometimes repetitions can be boring, I understand. But repetition takes you home. Repetition gives you a rank. Okay, repetition might be boring. Okay, again, I like my favorite tennis player, Nadal. Would you know, for the last 20 years almost, he would have got up in the morning every day and he practices his tennis every day to reach a stage where he wins, one of the legends, right? Now, would he not feel boredom sometimes? कि अरे यार रोज वही करना है. रोज वही करने से तो mastery आ रही है ना? So please listen to this. Please understand this, that mastery basically comes from repetition, even at the cost of boredom, right? So the boredom is obviously कि यार नया नहीं है. Novelty is what the human mind wants. No, but the rank does not come from new. Rank comes from old, which is repeated. Ulcer one side, bubo left side, ipsilateral bubos. Okay. Herpes genital is usually grouped ulcers. Remember, grouped vesicles with pain and ulceration. This is typically grouped vesicles of herpes genitalis. Now, some microscopy as well, something called as Pund cells or green blood cells, which are mononuclear cells in Donovanosis. These are basically now cells which are infected with the Donovan organisms. Okay, these are basically Donovan bodies inside the cell. These cells are called as Pund cells, and these bodies are having a close-tip appearance in Donovanosis. Okay, clue cells, again something important for microscopy in bacterial vaginosis. Okay, the yellow arrows are pointing to those Gardnerella organisms on the surface of the vaginal epithelial cell on a wet mount or a gram stain. On a wet mount on the right side, you can see some stippled, we call it a stippled appearance. That is typically the stippling of the organism on the vaginal epithelial cell of bacterial vaginosis. Okay, school of fish, again important microscopy, chancroid, extracellular gram-negative organism, typically for chancroid disease. Okay, now that then brings us to the last clinical vignette, which is blisters. Now this blister vignette I had done last year as well in the DVT. Now I actually made a decision of repeating this year for the simple fact that blisters is an evergreen topic. So even if you would have listened to this before, it's important to do this again this year, because last year when I did it, in fact after the exam I so many students message me saying कि अरे उसमें से बहुत आया, उस chart में से बहुत आया. So I don't want you who are hearing this for the first time to lose out on this very important blister topic, because my selection of what vignettes are important depends on my understanding of what is important this year. And I generally believe blisters have been an evergreen topic. All in PGI, for example, AIIMS have been so fond of the blister topic. We expect 1 or 2 questions of blisters every time. So it's important that we discuss it. These are the levels of fluids in skin. Okay. Now we expect obviously in this exam, in the INI exam also, the single best response to be the to be the more common way of asking, but you can have various patterns because the first time INI is happening. So we might expect some kind of serial arrangement from top to bottom questions also. Okay. So subcorneal blisters, look at the arrow on the top arrow. Subcorneal blisters below the cardium. PF is pemphigus foliaceus. SSS is staphylococcal scalded skin syndrome, and BI is bullous impetigo. Go down, spinous level blisters is an eczema. Go down, suprabasal level blisters is pemphigus vulgaris, Darius disease, and Haley disease. Go down even further, basal blisters in EBS and erythema multiforme. Go down into the junction, bullous pemphigoid, cicatricial pemphigoid, linear IgA disease, and EBJ. Go down to the dermis, EBA, EBD, and burns. So these are the various levels of fluids in skin depending on their pathogenesis. And once that I have just put, okay, when you get the PDF on the full forms or whatever short forms were mentioned in the last slide. Now, any question, okay, I've shown many students this chart before, but as I said, it's going to be a repetition for some students, but it's important that most students who have not seen this before again get to see this, because it's a very valuable chart that I have made personally. Okay, this is not there in any book. This is a chart that I made so that it becomes easy to understand and put all blisters together in one chart. So if this blisters, first decide if it's flaccid or tense. How do you know? Flaccid means दिखने में loose दिखेगा and the roof will be falling on itself, or because it's flaccid you might have an erosion mentioned क्योंकि वो टूट चुका है, क्योंकि flaccid है. Tense will be deeper blisters of junction and dermal. So tense blisters usually don't rupture. Those are going to be deeper stuff. So let's assume the question is flaccid, which is epidermal blister. Then look at whether it's acquired or genetic. The question अगर कहता है कि since birth है तो genetic की तरफ चलेगा, और अगर कहता है कि यार 40-year-old man getting it तो acquired की तरफ चलेगा. अगर genetic है तो दो ही possibility होती है, Haley disease and EBS. कैसे करोगे? Haley में will be an adult, DIF will be negative, and flexural blisters in the axilla typically with fissuring, Haley disease. And if it's trauma induced blisters, DIF negative, it's EBS. तो अगर ट्रॉमा मतलब बेबी एट ब्लिस्टर द साइड ऑफ हैंडलिंग, हाथ लगाया ब्लिस्टर हो गए. ओके, एंड इफ इट सेज acquired, then you further look at whether it's mucosal involvement positive or negative. The oral cavity ulcers hain kya, eye ulcers hain kya, nasal ulcers, genital ulcers, anal ulcers. So mucosa is positive or mucosa is negative. If mucosa is positive, then only two choices: pemphigus vulgaris and toxic epidermal necrosis. How will you go to pemphigus vulgaris? Widespread blisters and erosions and DF positive. Okay, so see this. All over the body there are blisters and erosions, and DIF is positive because it's an autoimmune disease, pemphigus vulgaris. And there's some culprit drug mentioned, some target toil lesions mentioned, no DIF. It's toxic epidermal Stevens-Johnson's category. Okay, if the mucosal involvement is negative, then two possibilities: Staphylococcus scalded skin syndrome and pemphigus foliaceus. In SSSS, there's going to be scale crust. Okay, no blisters. Scale crust. Always a child. Always with fever, because it's going to be a child getting it with staph toxemia. All right. So fever. There's some staph focus like otitis media, for example, some boil, some furuncle, seborrheic area involvement, and DF negative. I'll show you images also. In pemphigus foliaceus, it's going to be same scale crust, same seborrheic area. Difference kya? Adult and DIF positive. See a difference? So SSSS DF negative, pemphigus foliaceus DF positive. बाकी दोनों स्केली हैं, दोनों क्रस्टेड है, दोनों भी mucosal involvement नहीं है. Okay, both are there on the seborrheic areas, one in a child, one in an adult. Look at the images. Pemphigus vulgaris. Can you see widespread erosions? Raw areas. Right side, the blue arrow. Oral ulcers which are irregular. Important. Irregular ulcers, if you have that word in the MCQ, you will mark it as pemphigus vulgaris. For this, pemphigus vulgaris. Now look at the histopathology. All of you know, row of tombstones. The circle, the red circle signifies the split of the epidermis now. And one basal layer has gone below, pointed by the yellow arrow, and the rest three layers have gone up. This is a row of tombstones. Very important histopathology. Even at the cost of repetition, it's important you don't make a mistake on this. This is foliaceous, corneum is above, then a blister, and then the rest of the layers below. This is pemphigus foliaceus. Okay. Stevens-Johnson's 10. These are target oil lesions. The blue arrow is pointing to the central duskiness in the middle, and the yellow is pointing to a erythema at the edge. Again, you might be able to see that in the PDF when you zoom in. Okay, maybe in your live session today, you are not able to appreciate the target oil lesion, but it's okay. You can just zoom in and see later. On the right side, there's a hemorrhagic crust also, which is hemorrhage, मतलब bleeding kind of crust. यहाँ पे लाल होती है crust on the lips. Hemorrhagic crust is quite a specific pickup word for Stevens-Johnson's toxic epidermal. I have come across two MCQs up till now where the rest of the question did not really specify and did not help the question identify SJS, but in that theory it was mentioned, in the question it was mentioned, hemorrhagic crust is enough to get into a Stevens-Johnson's category. Okay. Now, again, Stevens-Johnson will have dusky lesions shown by the orange arrow. The dusky, matlab blackish kind of epidermal area, which is epidermal necrosis, and the red area is a positive Nikolsky sign, and erosions which are there. Just with the finger, the epidermis comes off. Look at the difference with SSSS and pemphigus foliaceus. Can you see left side cheek, nasolabial folds, eyebrows, scaling on the chest in a child. Okay, it's a scaly lesion with fever. Right side, pemphigus foliaceus. Again, cheek areas which are scaly. Okay, eyes are okay, nose okay, mouth okay. And that typically is foliaceous. Okay, so can you see both are scaly images? Both are on the face seborrheic areas because both are subcorneal blisters. But SSS is subsequent to staphylococcal toxemia. So DF negative in a child. Pemphigus foliaceus is an autoimmune antidesmoglin 1 disease. ठीक है, तो फीवर नहीं हो सकता pemphigus foliaceus में. ठीक है. Right. Haley, we know fissuring and blistering, flaccid blisters in the axillary area. Pustules, vesicles, fissuring in the axilla in an adult. Even though it's a congenital pathology, the onset of disease is delayed. So you will not have an image of a child with Haley. It will be an image of an adult with Haley. Dilapidated brick wall, again at the cost of repetition, you know this, but still the red arrow is showing you some partial acantholysis with some empty space in between like a broken brick. Some keratinocytes are broken, called broken brick wall, appearance of Haley disease. Okay. EBS, blisters the site of handling. Can you see flaccid blisters? there is a roof which has kind of come off. The yellow arrow is showing you a flaccid blister which is already ruptured, raw erosions at the handling side, trauma-induced blisters, congenital. All this is flaccid. Now let's say you say this is the question shows me a TENS blister. तो हम क्या बताएंगे? Junction and dermal हो गया. Again look at whether acquired or genetic. अगर genetic है तो एक ही है. Trauma-induced blisters are the only category here. EBJ, EBD is the only thing you need to look at here. Now you will not really have to choose between EBJ and EBD. Don't worry on that. Okay, that's a PG level question. Forget about that. So for you, EBJ होगा या EBD होगा. दोनों नहीं mention होंगे. In the acquired category, if it's itchy, red arterial base, elderly patients, DF positive. So old people, red base, TENS blisters with itching is bullous pemphigoid. Again, you know already we have done this in the regular time, but putting it together, connecting the dots, making a chart-based approach, an arrow-based approach to help you get to the diagnosis in the quickest possible time. That speed is important in your exam. If you really break your head for 2 minutes and come to a diagnosis of bullous pemphigoid, I have not done my job. If you can come to bullous pemphigoid in 20 seconds, by these focus pointer words, you are through. Severe itching, see the word, severe itching, scratch marks, elbow blisters, celiac disease, positivity, okay, some gluten intolerance mentioned. DR positive is dermatitis herpetiformis. String of pearls, DR positive is linear IgA disease. Look at this. Okay, sorry, it's not EBS, there's an error in the labeling. This is bullous pemphigoid, okay. This is bullous pemphigoid, TENS blisters, okay. Yellow arrows, TENS blisters on the thigh, TENS itchy blisters, limb in an elderly person. Very itchy disease, this is bullous pemphigoid. Histology of BP, we know this, the blue arrow is the basal cells. Below the basal cell, you can see in the yellow arrow on the left side, subepidermal blister. On the right side, eosinophil collection. Inside that blister space, this is bullous pemphigoid. Dermatitis herpetiformis, the yellow arrow is showing you a blister which is TENS but small. We call them grouped vesicles. And red arrow is the scratch mark. It's so scratchy this disease is. Okay, this is dermatitis herpetiformis. Again, scratch marks might be the only presentation on the elbow in dermatitis herpetiformis. Okay. Histology, papillary tip blisters and papillary tip neutrophils, and that's really how you look at the histo. So you can expect histo images also. Okay, so look at some neutrophilic collection, empty space in the papilla, and that's how you look at the disease process. Okay, linear IgA disease, also called as chronic bullous disorder of childhood. You can see this grouped blisters, but in a ring pattern, cluster of jewels and string of pearls appear. So now can you make out with this all these 9 clinical vignettes, we've been able to cover almost the entire dermatology. Okay, many of these charts and tables, okay, have also been done before. Okay, in some of my batches, some of my TND batches, some of my DVT batches before. But my call was what gives you the maximum efficiency for this year. Okay, my selection is based on that. So with this, I hope I've been able to reach you and been able to give you all the prospective diseases, okay, apart from the regular batch. So how I want you to use this DVT session. The Derma DVT session is with a single point agenda, okay, which is revision and recall, right? And last moment revision. So last day, please look at this. Please look at this before you go to the exam. एग्जाम के बाहर भी खड़े हो, है ना, एग्जाम सेंटर पहुंच गए आधा घंटा पहले, 45 मिनट्स पहले पहुंच गए हो, टेंशन हो रही है क्या करें लास्ट मोमेंट पे, roll this doesn't take long. Okay, will not believe that we have maybe used up 1 hour 15 minutes and we have done more than 100 slides already. 100 slides, and you might say 100, okay, but that's easy to kind of scroll up at the end. So I genuinely believe that what all of you need at this time, okay, is courage. Courage to follow your dreams, okay? And genuinely, I want you to look at this. I know that all of you feel like giving up at some point of time in your preparation. Sometimes things become overwhelming. You feel you're not up to it, okay? Now, let's read what I've written here. I already know what giving up feels like. and I'm talking about myself also. Okay, all of us, when we're younger, you feel like it's too much. You look at other people, you look at other toppers in your batch and say, यार ये लोग ये तो कर लेंगे, मुझे नहीं होगा, I will not be able to. But all of us have dreams. All of us wish good for ourselves. Okay, we know what giving up feels like. Okay, I want you to feel what happens if you don't. Okay, so with all my best regards to you, please just stand up to this fight. The moment you stand up, courage automatically comes. Okay, courage does not always roar. It's not loud in your face. Courage is not always loud in your face, like a Muhammad Ali saying, I'll go to beat you. That form of courage may not always be there. Sometimes it's the quiet voice at the end of the day whispering, it's okay, I've had a bad day, but I'll try again tomorrow. That's where the real strength is. Strength is generally not about punching all the time. Strength is about taking those punches, falling down, and having the courage to stand up again. Okay, I remember when I was younger, there used to be a toy called as Hit Me. Okay, I don't know whether you have seen that. Hit Me is a toy, is a plastic toy with a heavy base and a very light head. Okay, it's like a puppet. And you hit it, it falls. But because of a heavy base, it just kind of rises up again. You hit it, it rises up again. And that's generally how life is. Life will hit you. Nothing else hits you more than life itself. You will get hit. But what defines whether you win or no is not whether you get hit, but whether you have the courage to stand up. Say, okay, I'm ready to be hit again. One day you will find that you're not going to be hit. And you stand up and then you show that you have won. Right? With all my blessings, all my good wishes, okay, we finished the Dharma DVT session. It's been a long course for your DVT, I understand. Ups and downs, sometimes some days are bad, some days are good, some days you're concentrating. But it's okay to have bad days. Rise up again, stand tall and say, I'm there to be counted. You cannot push me over, right? With this, God bless. Thank you. Dr. Saurabh Jindal signing off. I wish to see your feedback. I wish to connect with you on how you felt the DVT was, how do you feel the Dharma session was. God bless, goodbye, and stand tall.